Good morning. Got an Amstrad CPC 664 3-inch floppy disk drive. It's got the usual problem. The drive belt has perished, as they do, and it's got stuck to the rollers. I peeled it off, picked up a new belt.
This is it. This is the answer.
So we're going to just fit that. And we're going to clean off the sticky residue off the rollers before we fit it. Also give the reed head a clean. You've got to be careful with these. When you take the screws out, hold the PCB on. Don't turn it upside down with the PCB off. The reason is there's a right protect pin, I believe. It drops out and it's hard to find where it comes from. But actually on this model I can't seem to see it. I did a 6128 a while back, and that fell out, and I had a right game trying to research where it came from.
Great Scott!
So anyway, I've undone a few cables. I've had it apart to see the problem in the first place, and I found the drive belt was all mangled up. These cables here are soldered. Can't actually unplug them, so it's a case of having to just sort of balance that out the way carefully. It does get in the way when you're trying to clean it. This roller here and this one, when you run these up after not being run for years, obviously they've not been run, the belt is still round here, and as soon as you pipe it up after 20 years or so, the first thing that happens is this drives round and the belt is stuck to this and stuck to here, winds up on here, and you've got to pick it off. Once you've picked the big bits off, try to use something soft, don't try to scratch it with a screwdriver. You don't want to mark the surfaces at all. If you've changed the drive belt and you've still got read-write errors or problems, more likely one of the capacitors has gone. And it's probably on the same line as the data for the read-write head. Could be any of them. It's hard to test them, and they just dry out. You won't see a bulge. They just won't work right. And I've actually changed one of these, not on this one, on an Amiga drive. I swapped out a capacitor, and it was just low in value, and that caused read-write errors. So changing that cured the problem. So I guess we might have the same issue here, but I won't do anything first. I'll test it first, put the new belt on, and then if that doesn't work, obviously if it's a read-write error, I've got to start looking at the capacitors.
This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
I'm not going to bother changing them just for the sake of changing them. Don't know whether you can see that. There's residue on here still. Let's just turn that. You can see all the black bits on there. It's going to need some IPA to clean that up. And I want to get rid of any little bits that fall off as well. I'll leave them in there. There's a bit there like it's fell off. Try to get rid of them. Also, when we put the belt on, we want to just make sure this is free running as well, which it probably won't be. Might have to put a tiny bit of some kind of very light lube on here. Just make sure it's running slick and that kind of stuff. Get some isopropyl alcohol. Let's try and clean up this roller first. It might be beneficial to take the motor off with these two and do it that way, but it's got a screw lock on there. If I can do it without taking it off, it'll be easy to take it off. I want to try to keep the screw lock on. It's coming off pretty well. I can see it coming off. So I'm just going to take the weight off that. Got to rotate this as you clean, really. As you're rubbing, you can just rotate it. You've got to get it all off. You can see the dirt coming off it. Look. You don't want your new belt running over stubborn bits. If it goes over a bump, it'll oscillate, and then that could cause you read-write errors. It's not spinning the right rate, or it's changing.
Whoa, this is heavy. There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
Bought an Amstrad 664 recently on eBay. Some of the keys were missing off the keyboard, as in they wouldn't work, membrane problem. And then you got the drive belt issue, but the thing powered up, and I look at the board's tidy, so couldn't be any happier than that. I give the feedback to the seller, no problem. Didn't actually mention it didn't work, but you've got to expect that. And I'm glad I was the only one to open it in recent years, so it's had no mods done, it's had no repairs. Nobody's had a look at it first and tried to bodge it, so that's the main thing. You don't want to buy some retro kit that's been already had a look at. If they do a professional job, that's fine. I don't know if you can trust people to do a professional job anymore. Some people think they know what they're doing, but they're causing havoc with some of the stuff that, they're butchering it. Like they're saying it's been recapped or reconditioned, it hasn't been done right. It's not a good deal for the user. I don't know whether to put the same capacitors on or put some of these tantalum capacitors on instead onto any of these retro computers that are being recapped. Because basically you're keeping the old tech, the retro stuff. In 20-30 years time, you don't want the same thing to happen again. You don't have to keep recapping it. I know you might not even be about then, but once you've unsoldered it once, imagine after so many years unsoldering the capacitors over and over. you're going to wreck the board. So it might be beneficial to put these tantalum caps in. I'll have to do a bit of research to see if they're going to last. Obviously they're going to last longer than a normal electrolytic, but I don't suppose anyone actually knows how long they last. Capacitors, even if they're not bloated, the electrolyte dries out in them, and they can even show good value but without load, without power. You can measure the capacitance in. It can still pass tests, but when you try to use it, you got a problem with it. So if that's the case, it might be better just to do a global recap. Yeah, I think that's about it really on this, on cleaning that bit. That looks good. Right, I'm going to go to the other end now and clean the drive belt that drives the other side. Right, let's have a bit of fresh IPA.
Please excuse the crudity of this model. I didn't have time to build it to scale or to paint it.
Like I say, in here somewhere there is a right protect pin that's just loose. It drops out. If you turn it over now, it'll drop out. Hard to find where it goes to, but I can't see it on this model. I really can't. So maybe it's just the Amiga version. Can't remember now. Right, so I'm going to lift this up. You can see some black on the wheel here. Look at that. There's a fair old amount coming off that. This wheel is sort of round. It's sort of concave. I suppose that keeps the belt in position. I'll get a bit of this off and I'll go over it again with some fresh. It's just to get any sticky remnants off it. Anything that'll stick to the new belt, you don't want sticking bits of sticky stuff on there when it's trying to operate. Get the big stuff off and go around again with a nice clean fresh one. It's worth doing. You only have to do it once. Hopefully put it all back together. Never have to do it again. I mean, some people just put new drives in. I'm going to keep this computer as is. There's lots of people modifying stuff and I just want to keep this one as is. I wouldn't mind an external floppy drive emulator. You know, you could load some software, an external one, but I'd leave the internal one original for cam. Get all the colour off it. You don't want the grease off your fingers on it either. I think that's about it, really. I don't know whether it's worth trying to test these capacitors while it's off. I suppose not. I'll give it a go. I'll put it back together, put the new drive belt on.
The only power source capable of generating 1.21 gigawatts of electricity is a bolt of lightning.
I'm just going to go around here, pick any bits of belt up off the chassis. Yeah, it looks okay. Yeah. So I might just go across the surface here, just make sure there's no lumps on there. Probably unnecessary. I might as well put this back together. Yeah, PCB doesn't look too bad. No corrosion or anything like that. It's not too bad at all, actually. Okay, right, I'm going to put this, I was going to put it back together, but I haven't actually put the drive belt on yet. Let's put the drive belt on. See, I'm going to touch the drive belt now with my sticky fingers. So what I'm going to do is wipe the grease off my fingers. And just put a bit of alcohol on my fingers. Just try and take a bit of grease off. Probably not necessary, but right. This is just a cheap belt off eBay, sort of £3.50.
Great Scott!
That's all it was. Doesn't look too bad, does it? Just a bit narrow, really. Yeah, it doesn't look as wide as the other one. Maybe it is. As the one I took off, doesn't look quite as wide. Oh well. Right, I'm going to pop it on like that. That's the length of it, unstretched, so I think I'm going to have to stretch it a bit. Right, just put it on lightly and then I'm going to spin this and it should find its way onto the pinion wheel, okay. I'll give it a few rotations just to see if it sits nicely square. It looks okay. It's amazing how it stays on, really. Nice precision. I think that would ride off, but yeah, that's fine. You've got some kind of variable resistor there. VR201 on the board. Potentiometer. Probably some kind of alignment. You don't want to be messing with that, really.
I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. 1.21 gigawatts!
Unless you've got a read-write error, I suppose. A few things to note here. Before you put this back on, you've got this wire here that's got to go slid up onto there. That's it, that's back on. And I suppose you've got to be careful when you put this back, you don't cover the sensor with it. So that's another thing to watch out for. So this is an Amstrad CPC 664 floppy drive. I'm lucky enough to get hold of a 664 untouched. So I'm very lucky there. And if I remember right, there is a repair to do to this. This connector here for the, I don't know what it is, the sensor, it's actually dry joint. It's actually rocking. I don't know whether you can see that. Can you see that? Just, yeah, you can just see it wobbling, look, see?
Don't worry! As long as you hit that wire with a connecting hook at precisely 88 miles an hour, the instant the lightning strikes the tower, everything will be fine.
So I'm just going to knock the soldering iron on a second. I spotted that when I took it apart. The rest of it looks okay. This LED has got to be tucked into the display here. Let's just see if I can see that now. Can you see? And there's another worrying factor here. Let me get a bit of Kapton tape actually. I'm going to pull that connector out a minute. Right, I'm just going to lay this over here. So let's pull that out again. This is a bit of a problem trying to get it out of the way while you're working. Just here, there was a piece of tape holding this down. It's just fell apart. What I'll do is I'll get a bit of Kapton tape on that. Hopefully that'll hold it back. I used to have 464 and a 6128, but I never had a 664 before. Yeah, never managed to get over 664. Okay, so we got a bit of Kapton tape over that, just to hold that connector down. That's good. Yeah, this is the connector that's loose. See that? It's nearly falling out. Look, here. Just going to lean that over. I've got to solder that. I could put flux on there. I don't know if it needs flux. There's flux in the solder. Let's try it without. Looks good to me. That's it. Yeah, it looks good. It's not wobbling. Happy with that. No need to clean it. Not enough flux on it to need cleaning, so that's fine. Okay, so we're ready to reassemble now. Got to put this lead back in. Awkward to do after, so push that in. That's good. This one here is going to be a bit awkward now because we've taped it down, so we've got a bit more space to work with. Okay, so we've got to slot the LED into its holder. As I say, you've got to make sure this lead isn't getting in the way of this sensor. And we've got our little leads to plug back in. Make sure these are out the way. Yes, they are. I'm just going to put a few retaining screws in. If they line up, do they line up? No, they're just clipped into place now. That's good. Let's put the screws back. One of these screws has got a washer. We've got 3 steel washers, so I won't tighten them until I've got all the screws in. Plastic washer there, one with the metal washers in the other 3 places. I'm just going to tighten them up now. Not going to go crazy, it's only holding the circuit board down. Yeah, that clip in, lovely, that's it. That's got to be fitted back, so I'm just going to manoeuvre that out the way a minute. That's the 3 wires that are soldered in place from to go to the other side of the board. Yeah, we're in. Just double check, make sure I haven't gone. No, you're okay. That's good. Right, let's just have a look at the board. I've noticed when I took it apart that this PCB, there's like a recess here. I don't know if that's the PCB. This board looks like it belongs in that gap, not underneath. I'm just going to take the front off. Yeah, they come off easy. Undo them. They don't seem to be screw locked. And yeah, here we go. Just push that back in with. That looks like it wants to force it over, but it isn't set down yet, is it? Of course, the LED's come out of the socket now. Try and get that LED back in. That may be it. Yep, the LED is in place, and that's better. See, there's no stress on that board now. That's in the right place.
Marty, this may seem a little forward.
Built incorrectly in the first place. I noticed there's a light here, an LED light, or infrared light must be. It looks through a hole, so me moving that. No, that's okay. That's okay. So I'm going to just fasten that back up again now. So that was built from 1984, whenever it was built, incorrectly from then. Oh well. There's no stress on the board now. The board is flat. It was pushing it down. That's got to be better. Right, so the last thing to do, well, 2 things. Double check all the connectors are in place. Looks okay. I should have brought a floppy drive up really. Push in and out, make sure the mechanism is slick. But I'm going to clean the reed head wire here. A nice fresh cotton bud. Some more IPA, and I think somebody said there was a correct way of doing this, correct way of cleaning. So there's the reed head in there, down there. I don't know whether they push that way or that way, so I'm just going to give it a clean. They're pretty hardy, these ones are.
Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
I remember when I used to work duplicating discs in 1988, 89, 90. 1989 to 1990, or was it 88? Used to duplicate discs on a trace disc duplicating machine. That was one of my jobs. Unix based trace. I remember it's being trace, and I used to have to load up the images and set them into motion. And I had what did I have? I think I had 4 3-inch drives on the system, No 3.5-inch drives. They had was it floppy drives or HD? No, it must have been 3. No, it was Amiga drives on there. Yeah, I think there was Amiga drives on it. 3.5-inch Amiga drives. Well, industrial drives they were. Yeah, there's not much coming off that, so it may well have not had much use, this one. I'm just going to clean the top of this as well. There's a bit of fluff on there. And that's about it, really. That is it. You've got these runners here, so it might be beneficial to put some kind of lubricant on there. So you've got the mechanism here, you could probably lubricate some of this. Not going to bother yet though. The springs look okay. Alright, let's make that sure that trapdoor works. Yeah, there is where this LED lights up and shines through. In there, I don't know whether you can see it, there's like a surface. Can you see it there? There's like a surface. Whether that reflects off that, it knows whether there's a disc there or not. Whether that needs cleaning, I don't know. I don't want it. If I clean it and there's like a white surface on it, and I get rid of it off. I'm not sure. Can't see. I'll leave that for now. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Don't fix it. Okay. So I'm going to go and give this a try and probably let you know in another video how I got on with that. Okay, that's the end of that. That's CPC 664 floppy drive, 3-inch floppy drive. Change the belt and clean the reader, and also do a repair on a loose connector down there. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Maybe I'll do some demos, get the thing fired up and record it, run some software on it. We'll have a go with that. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
It works! It works! I finally invent something that works!